The story everyone knows begins with a baby left on a doorstep. This one doesn't. This story begins in a cupboard, a narrow, airless space beneath a staircase that creaked with every careless footstep above it, a space that smelled of dust, mildew, and old shoes, a space where hunger was not an accident, but a routine, where silence was enforced, not requested, where pain came unpredictably, and kindness never came at all. Harry Potter learnt two lessons in that cupboard. The first was simple. No one was coming to save him. The second was more important. Power was the only thing that made people stop hurting you. By the time the letters started arriving, thick parchment, green ink, seals pressed with authority, Harry didn't feel wonder. He felt validation. Something in the world had finally noticed him. Something powerful had finally claimed him. And when Hagrid smashed the door down and told him he was famous, Harry didn't smile. Fame was useless. Fame didn't keep you fed. Fame didn't stop fists. What mattered was control. The Great Hall was magnificent, but Harry barely noticed. The floating candles, the enchanted ceiling, the whispers rippling through the student body as his name spread like electricity across the longhouse tables. Harry Potter, the boy who lived. He felt their eyes on him, hungry, curious, reverent, and he catalogued it the same way he catalogued exits, wand hands, and body language. Attention was a resource. Resources could be weaponized. Professor McGonagall's voice echoed his name. He walked forward alone. The sorting hat slid over his eyes, and the world narrowed to darkness and breath and the quiet hum of old magic. Ah, yes. The voice inside the hat was ancient, layered with centuries of ambition, cowardice, brilliance, and regret. Plenty of courage here, it murmured thoughtfully. Sharp mind, a talent for adaptation, and something else. The hat paused. Oh my, that hunger. Images flickered behind Harry's eyes. The cupboard, the locked fridge, Dudley's laughter, Petunia's sharp voice, Vernon's shadow filling doorways. I don't want to be weak, Harry said. Not aloud, but with perfect clarity. The hat went still. Not Gryffindor bravery, then? It asked, almost amused. Not the thrill of the charge, or the joy of sacrifice. No, Harry replied. I want power. The word landed like a dropped blade. The hat didn't argue. It didn't hesitate. It understood. Then you already know where you belong. The shout rang out across the great hall. Ask him why they're in. Silence fell like a held breath. No cheers. No applause. Just shock. Harry lifted the hat from his head and looked straight ahead. He didn't flinch. He didn't lower his eyes. He walked toward the green and silver table as if it had always been his destination. And that was the moment everything changed. Slytherin House didn't welcome him. It measured him. Eyes tracked his approach, calculating, cold, sharp with inherited arrogance and learned cruelty. Pure-blood heirs leaned back in their seats, assessing posture and gait. Half-bloods watched more carefully, reading the room, waiting to see whether Harry Potter would be asset or liability. Draco Malfoy stood. He was pale, sharp-featured, already practiced in the art of social dominance. He stepped forward, hand extended, smile precise and rehearsed. Harry Potter, Draco said smoothly. I'm Draco Malfoy. I think you'll find it's better to have friends in the right places. It was a test, an offer and a threat, wrapped in silk. Harry looked at the hand. Then he took it, and he squeezed. Not hard enough to break bones, hard enough to hurt. Hard enough that Draco's smile faltered, just for a fraction of a second. Long enough for everyone watching to notice. Harry leaned in slightly, his voice quiet, almost polite. "I don't need places," he said. "I make them." He released Draco's hand. The hierarchy shifted. No announcement, no challenge, just an understanding, passed silently through the table like a current. This boy wasn't prey. He wasn't a mascot. He was something else. Ron Weasley never mattered. On the train, Harry assessed him in minutes. Unfocused, emotionally driven, resentful of success, careless with potential. Someone who treated magic like a novelty instead of a weapon, a liability. Harry didn't sit with him, didn't look back. Hermione Granger was different, brilliant, obsessive, dangerous in her own way. But she sought validation, not dominance. She wanted to be right, not powerful. Harry catalogued her as competition, someone to outperform, not ally with. Friends were weaknesses. Allies were conditional. Leverage was everything. By the time they descended into the dungeons for their first Slytherin common room meeting, Harry had already begun ruling his isolation. Severus Snape watched it all. He had prepared himself to hate the boy. James Potter's arrogance in miniature. A strutting Gryffindor icon handed everything on a silver platter by a world too eager to worship him. Instead, he saw something unsettling. Harry Potter didn't boast, didn't laugh, didn't posture. He listened. He watched. He conserved his energy like someone who had learned the cost of wasting it. And when potions class began, something unprecedented happened. Harry Potter didn't give Snape a reason to bully him. No sass, no fame-drunk defiance, no careless mistakes. He followed instructions with surgical precision, hands steady, eyes focused, adjusting technique mid-brew without being told. Snape corrected him once. Harry adjusted instantly. Their eyes met across the steam and cauldrons, and Snape saw it, not James, Lily. The same cold focus, the same refusal to waste talent, the same understanding that magic was not a game. From that moment on, the rules changed. Snape didn't praise him. He didn't protect him openly, but he began to teach him, quietly, efficiently, mercilessly, correcting wrist angles, questioning assumptions, demanding improvement. Other students noticed. Fear crept in where mockery should have lived. When the mystery of the Philosopher's Stone surfaced, Harry didn't rush to be a hero. Heroes reacted. Predators hunted. Harry followed the trail methodically. Patterns, omissions, inconsistencies. He wasn't trying to save Hogwarts. He was trying to find the man attempting to resurrect Voldemort, not because it was noble, but because unfinished enemies were unacceptable. When he confronted Quirrell, there was no speech, no panic, only rage, cold and focused, burning through every memory of the cupboard, every night of hunger, every moment of powerlessness. He didn't protect the stone. He denied Voldemort a future. And when he woke in the hospital wing, it wasn't Dumbledore's twinkling eyes he saw first. It was Severus Snape, standing in the shadows. No congratulations, no comfort, just recognition. The boy wasn't famous. He was dangerous. And he was worth investing in. Year 1 ended without celebration. Slytherin didn't throw him a party. They didn't need to. They already knew who ruled their house. Harry Potter didn't survive his first year at Hogwarts by luck or bravery. He survived because he understood the truth before anyone else did. Power wasn't something you waited to be given. Power was something you took. And this was only the beginning. The Serpent Crown, years 2 and 3. Year 2 begins the way power always begins. Not with a grand speech, not with a prophecy, but with a decision. Harry Potter stands in the doorway of the Slytherin common room, on the first night back at Hogwarts, watching the greenish light ripple across the black lake above them, listening to the low murmur of voices in the dungeons. First years showing off, older students bargaining in whispers, prefects measuring loyalties, pure blood heirs already carving their little empires out of fear and favors. And Harry realizes something very simple. Last year, he survived. This year, he will rule. He doesn't do it with charisma. He does it the way the dungeons teach you to do everything. Quietly, clinically. He learns names. He learns bloodlines. He learns which students have parents on the board of governors, which ones have cousins in the ministry, which ones have brothers who already wear dark masks in the night. And most importantly, he learns what they want. Because in Slytherin House, wants are weaknesses, and weaknesses are currency. The first crack in the school's comfort comes early. It begins with whispers, with cold drafts in corridors that never had drafts, with students glancing over their shoulders like prey sensing movement behind them, with teachers tightening their mouths, pretending everything is fine. And then, one afternoon, a cat is found hanging from a torch bracket, stiff, frozen, eyes wide, a message scrawled across the wall in blood-red paint. Asterisk, the Chamber of Secrets has been opened. The school panics, but the dungeons wake up, because the legend isn't a fairy tale down there. It's a promise, a birthright. Slytherins lean closer, speaking softer. They stop mocking the old stories and start calculating the possibilities. The phrase, heir of Slytherin, begins to carry weight again, the way it did when blood mattered more than grades and fear mattered more than rules. And Harry does something no Gryffindor Harry would ever do. He doesn't look alarmed. He looks interested. Now let's talk about the most important difference in this timeline. In the original story, Harry is constantly reacting to danger, reacting to rumors, reacting to adults withholding information for his own good. In this timeline, Harry doesn't allow the world to move without him. He moves first. When the attacks start, he begins gathering information like a commander preparing a battlefield map. He doesn't ask teachers for answers. Teachers lie. Teachers omit. Teachers protect systems, not children. Instead, he hunts sources. He watches who gets quiet when the chamber is mentioned. He watches who looks afraid and who looks excited. And he notices something crucial. Draco Malfoy is more afraid than he should be. Not of monsters, of politics, of what his father would do if the wrong person takes power in Hogwarts. Draco keeps trying to orbit Harry, to be close enough to benefit from him, but not close enough to be swallowed by him. Harry lets him, not because he likes Draco, because Draco is useful, because Draco is connected, because Draco is a lever, and levers move worlds. Then comes the dueling club, a ridiculous little spectacle staged by Lockhart to inflate his ego. Rows of students packed into the Great Hall, teachers pretending this is educational, Lockhart prancing like a peacock, while Snape stands in the background looking like he's deciding which curse would end the fastest. Harry steps onto the platform with Draco, and everyone leans forward, because they want to see the boy who lived fight. They want a show. Harry gives them something else. He gives them a lesson. The duel starts. Draco fires first. Harry counters instantly. Not flashy, not dramatic, efficient. He disarms Draco in a way that feels less like sport and more like humiliation. Draco's wand flies. There's laughter, but the laughter dies quickly, because Harry doesn't smile. He doesn't celebrate. He simply looks down at Draco as if Draco is a demonstration. And then the snake appears, a conjured serpent, sliding across the polished floor, head lifting, tongue tasting the air, eyes locking onto a cluster of students with predatory focus. Panic erupts. Students stumble back, shrieking. Lockhart flails. Even some teachers tense. And then Harry speaks. Not loudly, not theatrically. He speaks the way you speak when you're issuing an order to something that has no choice but to obey. Parseltongue spills from his mouth like cold oil. The snake stills, and the great hall goes silent. This is not the silence from earlier. This is fear. Because everyone knows what Parseltongue means. They've read the stories. They've heard the myths. Only one kind of wizard speaks to serpents. Dark wizards. The air. Harry watches their faces change. And he makes another decision. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't scramble for excuses. He doesn't offer comfort. Because comfort is for people who want to be liked. Harry wants to be untouchable. So he turns slightly, letting the hall see him clearly, and he lets the silence stretch until it hurts. Then he walks off the platform like a prince leaving a conquered room. The rumor spreads before dinner. By midnight, it has evolved into something sharper. Not Harry can speak Parseltongue, but Harry is the heir of Slytherin. Dumbledore watches from his tower. McGonagall worries herself sick. Hagrid panics. The school fractures. Gryffindors glare at him with open suspicion, as if righteousness can protect them. Ravenclaws whisper in libraries, debating probabilities. Hufflepuffs look frightened and betrayed. But in Slytherin, Slytherin begins to kneel. Not openly. Slytherins don't kneel the way Gryffindors do. With loyalty and banners and heroic music, they kneel with alliances. They kneel with silence. They kneel with obedience disguised as respect. Students begin approaching Harry differently, not as a celebrity, as a leader, as a possible king. And Harry, who has known powerlessness so intimately it still lives under his skin like an old bruise, lets it happen. He doesn't demand worship, he allows it, which is always more terrifying. The chamber doesn't open with a dramatic earthquake. It opens the way ancient things open, with inevitability. More students are attacked. More bodies stiffen into petrified statues. The corridors become emptier. The whispers grow louder. The teachers tighten restrictions until Hogwarts starts to feel like a prison. And Harry notices something else. The school keeps focusing on the symptoms, but the chamber is a weapon. Weapons have users. So Harry hunts the user. He shadows people at night. He follows the patterns of fear. He watches who disappears and when. He keeps track of where the attacks happen. And he finds the center. Not by luck, by patience. A bathroom that nobody wants. A ghost that cries. A name carved into history. And when he finally speaks to Moaning Myrtle, he doesn't do it with kindness. He does it with authority. He makes her talk. He extracts the memory. A girl dying. A pair of yellow eyes. A whisper in a language nobody understood. Harry leaves the bathroom and walks back to the dungeons with something rare in his chest. Not fear. Not hope. Clarity. The monster is a basilisk, and basilisk magic is old enough that the castle itself remembers it. Harry doesn't go to Lockhart for help. He doesn't go to Dumbledore. He goes to Snape, because Snape is the only adult at Hogwarts who speaks the truth without dressing it up in sugar. And when Harry tells him what he suspects, Snape's expression changes in the smallest way. A tightening around the eyes, a subtle shift of breath. Snape believes him immediately. Proof. Snape says. Harry gives it. Not dramatic proof. Not a heroic speech. A list. A timeline. Locations. Triggers. Connections. Snape stares at him for a long moment. Then, in a voice that is almost quiet, he says, "You're playing a game none of them even know exists." That night, Snape gives Harry a small vial of potion, not Felix Felicis, not a miracle, something more practical, a draught that sharpens reflexes and steadies the hands, dangerous in large doses, illegal to give to students, exactly the kind of edge you'd want if you're about to walk into a place where ancient death sleeps. Harry pockets it, and he smiles once. Not because he's happy, because he's armed. Then Ginny Weasley is taken, and the school goes from frightened to hysterical Weasley blood. Doesn't carry political weight in Slytherin, but it carries emotional weight everywhere else. Gryffindor roars. Teachers scramble. Dumbledore's eyes sharpen with the kind of worry he tries to hide. And Harry watches the chaos the way a general watches enemy panic. Because Ginny's disappearance isn't random. It's escalation. It's the Chamber's user making a statement, a deadline, a forced move. So Harry makes his move first. He doesn't run through the halls yelling for help. He doesn't rally a team. He goes alone. Not because he thinks he's invincible, because bringing allies means bringing vulnerabilities. And Harry has vowed that nobody will ever have leverage over him again. He finds the entrance. Parcel tongue parts stone like flesh. The mouth opens, and the dark swallows him. The descent is long. The air grows older with each step, like the castle is peeling back layers of history the way you peel back skin. Stone sweats, water drips, and Harry feels something in his blood answer the place. Not joy, recognition. Because the chamber isn't just a room, it's a concept, a throne, a promise written by Salazar Slytherin himself. Power belongs to those willing to take it. Harry reaches the bottom, wand raised, senses sharp. And he finds Ginny, collapsed, pale, barely breathing. But the true presence in the room isn't Ginny. It's the boy standing above her. Tom Riddle, hands in pockets, smile mild, eyes bright with a cruelty so polished it almost looks charming. He looks at Harry like Harry is a puzzle he's already solved. Harry Potter, Riddle says. I've been waiting. And in the original timeline, this is where Harry would be confused, where he would be frightened, where he would try to understand. But this Harry doesn't come to understand. He comes to conquer. Harry's eyes flick to the diary in Riddle's hand. He already knows what it is. A container, a trap, a piece of someone's soul disguised as ink and paper. You're not Tom Riddle, Harry says calmly. Not really. Riddle's smile twitches. I am his memory, Riddle replies. His preserved self. His? A failure, Harry interrupts. The word hits the chamber like a slap. Riddle's expression sharpens. Harry steps closer. Because you're still here, Harry says, voice low, cold. You're trapped in a book while the real world moves on without you. You couldn't even win properly. You had to hide your soul, like a coward. Riddle's eyes glitter with anger. You don't understand what power is, Riddle says softly. I will show you. I will. He turns his head slightly and speaks in Parseltongue. A command. A summoning. The stone cracks. A sound like scales dragging over ancient rock fills the chamber. And then the basilisk emerges. It is enormous, a living catastrophe, eyes like poisoned lanterns, fangs like curved daggers. Riddle smiles. Kill him, Riddle whispers. The basilisk shifts. Its head lowers. Its eyes fix on Harry, and Harry, instead of running, speaks. Not in English. In the serpent's language. A voice older than his own. A voice that belongs to something deeper. Stop. The basilisk halts. Riddle's smile falters. Obey me, Riddle snaps in Parseltongue. Harry's voice cuts through it like steel. He is not the heir. He is a shadow. The basilisk's tongue flickers. It hesitates. Riddle's eyes widen slightly, not with fear, but with disbelief, because something is happening here that should not happen. A basilisk is not meant to hesitate. It is a weapon built for obedience. But obedience depends on dominance, and dominance depends on presence. And Riddle is not present. He is a memory, a ghost trapped in ink. Harry steps forward again, staring into the basilisk's face with reckless control. Right of conquest, Harry hisses. And in that moment, something ancient in the chamber recognizes him. Not because he is pure blood, not because of politics, because he has the one quality the chamber was built to honor: unyielding will. The basilisk shudders, caught between two masters, one from the past, one from the present. Riddle's anger explodes. "You are nothing," he shouts, voice cracking through the chamber. "You are a child. You—" Harry's eyes flicked down, and he sees it. A broken fang, not fresh, old, half buried near the bones of something long dead, like the chamber itself has been waiting for the right hand to wield it. Harry moves, fast. The basilisk is frozen in hesitation, confused by conflicting commands. Harry snatches the fang, spins, and drives it into the diary with both hands. Ink erupts like blood. Riddle screams, not like a boy, but like something being torn apart at the seams. His body begins to unravel, edges dissolving into black smoke. "You don't get to come back," Harry says quietly, twisting the fang. "Not through me, not through this school, not through anyone." Riddle collapses into nothing. The diary dies, and the chamber goes still. Harry staggers to Ginny, checks her pulse, forces himself to steady his breathing. Then he looks up at the basilisk. It watches him, not attacking, not obeying, just watching. Harry holds its gaze. Then, softly, in Parseltongue, he gives one final order: sleep. The basilisk lowers its head slowly, like a dragon acknowledging a rider, and retreats into the darkness. Harry carries Ginny out of the chamber, and when he emerges into the bathroom above, pale, blood-smeared eyes, calm as winter, the castle feels different, because Harry Potter didn't save the school. He claimed it. After that, nobody whispers, "Heir of Slytherin," like it's a rumor. They whisper it like it's a title. Teachers look at him differently. Students move out of his path. Slytherins stop challenging him in subtle ways. And Harry doesn't correct anyone, because fear is cleaner than affection. Fear doesn't disappoint you. Fear doesn't leave. Year 3 arrives with a new kind of threat. Not serpents, not hidden chambers, not secret heirs. Something worse. Dementors. Creatures that don't just kill you. They strip you down to your weakest moments and force you to live inside them. For most students, Dementors are terrifying. For Harry Potter, Dementors are insulting, because they drag him back to the cupboard, back to hunger, back to being small and powerless and trapped. And there is nothing Harry hates more than being reminded he was ever weak. In the original timeline, Lupin offers him guidance. In this one, Harry refuses. Not because Lupin isn't capable, because Lupin is soft. Because Lupin carries guilt and kindness like weights, and kindness is a liability in war. Harry goes to Snape, and Snape, who knows exactly what Dementors do to a mind, agrees, but not gently, not kindly. Snape doesn't teach Harry to cast a Patronus with happy thoughts and comforting memories. Snape teaches him the way you teach someone to survive torture. by breaking the illusion that comfort will save you. The lessons happen at night, in empty classrooms. Snape conjures cold that crawls across the floor like fog. He forces Harry to relive memories Harry didn't even realize he still carried in his bones. The cupboard door locking, the sound of Dudley's laughter, the scrape of Vernon's belt through belt loops, the sickening calm of Petunia saying, "You're lucky we kept you." Harry's breathing becomes ragged. His wand shakes. The spell fails. Again and again. Snape's voice cuts through it like a whip. "You are not protecting yourself with hope, Potter," Snape snarls. "Hope is a candle in a hurricane. You will protect yourself with certainty." Harry's teeth grind. He tries again. Silver sparks. Nothing more. Snape's patience thins. And then, to demonstrate, to humiliate, to instruct, Snape casts the charm himself. Expecto Patronum. A burst of silver explodes into the air. A doe. Elegant. Silent. Unshakable. It moves around the classroom like a living memory, pure and untouchable, pushing the darkness back with effortless authority. Harry stares. Something tight and unfamiliar twists in his chest. He watches the doe's calm, the way it doesn't rage or snarl, the way it simply exists and makes fear retreat. And Harry asks the question that should have been impossible for him to ask, not because he's curious, because he's human enough to feel it. "Why a doe?" Harry says quietly. Snape's jaw tightens. For a moment, the mask slips. Not completely, but enough. The Patronus reflects the soul. Snape says, voice flat, controlled. "And mine is bound to the only person who ever saw me." Harry's eyes narrow. "Lily," he says. Snape doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. The silence says it for him. And in that silence, something changes. Because Harry realizes Snape isn't just a teacher. He is a man built out of resentment and love and grief, so sharp it became a weapon. And suddenly, Harry understands him, not like a student understands a professor, like a soldier understands another soldier. Harry raises his wand again. This time, he doesn't search for happiness. He searches for power. For a moment where he was not helpless, he finds it not a laugh, not a hug, but the memory of the basilisk stopping, the memory of the chamber recognizing him, the memory of the world yielding. Expecto Patronum, Harry whispers. Silver erupts. A corporeal Patronus explodes into the air. Not a shield, a creature, a stag, massive, proud, antlered like a crown. The symbol of James Potter. The room goes cold in a different way. Snape's eyes harden instantly. His mouth twists. Because to Snape, the stag is not noble. It is arrogant. It is the father who tormented him. The father who lived while Lily died. Harry sees the disgust in Snape's face. And Harry hates the stag too. Not because it's weak, but because it connects him to something he never chose. A father he doesn't respect. A father who died without protecting the only person that mattered. Harry's voice is quiet, almost venomous. "I don't want it," he says. Snape's gaze snaps to him. "You don't get to choose," Snape replies. "Not yet." Harry watches the stag fade, jaw clenched. And he makes another promise. If power can be taken, so can identity. Then the year spirals toward the Humping Willow, toward the Shrieking Shack, toward the moment where Harry's ideology is tested against reality. Snape storms in, wand blazing, rage boiling out of him in a way Harry has never seen. And there, is Sirius Black. Alive, real. The man Snape has built years of hatred around. In the original timeline, Harry attacks Snape here. In this timeline, Harry hesitates. He remembers the doe. He remembers what love has done to Snape, how it shaped him into something sharp enough to survive. Snape is ready to kill Sirius. Not arrest him. Not question him. Kill him. And Harry almost allows it. Almost, because part of Harry agrees with Snape. Mercy is weakness. Weakness gets you buried. But then the truth is forced into the open. Peter Pettigrew, the rat, the traitor, the thing that lived in a boy's pocket while his victims rotted in grief. When Pettigrew is exposed, the room changes. Even Snape's rage shifts direction. And then Snape does something nobody expects. He turns to Harry, and he holds out his wand. He hands it to him. "Do it," Snape says, voice low, lethal. "This is your right." Harry stares at the wand. A weapon. A decision. A point of no return. He takes it. He points it at Pettigrew. And for a second you can see it. The 13-year-old inside him. The buried boy who still wants to believe the world can be repaired. His hand shakes. He hesitates. And that single hesitation is all the universe needs to punish him. Pettigrew transforms, escapes. The moment is gone. The consequences are locked in. Snape's face becomes something terrible. Not screaming rage, something colder. He steps close to Harry, voice dropping to a whisper so sharp it feels like a blade under the ribs. "Mercy," Snape says, "is a luxury." Harry's jaw clenches. Snape's eyes burn. "The people who killed your mother will show you none," Snape continues. "I will show them none, and neither should you." The words lodge in Harry like a splinter. Painful, permanent. And then Sirius offers Harry a home. A life away from the Dursleys. A life that, in another timeline, might have saved Harry's soul. But this Harry doesn't see salvation. He sees failure. He sees a man who should have been there, who should have protected his parents, who should have hunted Pettigrew before it all happened. Sirius is emotional, desperate, raw with hope. Harry is quiet, cold, calculating. "I don't need a parent," Harry says. Sirius flinches. Harry's eyes flick to Snape, the man who taught him the Patronus, the man who gave him power, the man who demanded ruthlessness. "I need a general," Harry says. And with that sentence, Harry chooses his side. Not the marauders. Not nostalgia. Not a broken man offering warmth. He chooses the half-blood prince. He walks away from Sirius Black without looking back. And right here, this is where the timeline becomes a weapon. Because now we have the question that defines everything that comes next. Snape believes mercy is weakness that gets people killed. Dumbledore believes mercy is our greatest strength. Looking at the fact that Pettigrew escapes, and that escape leads directly to Voldemort's resurrection, who was right? Was Harry's hesitation proof that mercy has no place in war? Or is it proof that if Harry had been raised differently, if he had been loved instead of starved, he might have had the strength to be merciful and still win? Drop your answer in the comments, because in this timeline, Harry Potter is done hesitating. And year 4 is where the world finds out what that means. Year 4 doesn't arrive like a new school term. It arrives like a storm front. The air changes before anyone can explain why. There's a tension under the feast, under the laughter, under the staff table's forced smiles. Even the castle feels alert, like stone itself has begun to listen, because Hogwarts is about to do something it hasn't done in a century. It's going to invite the outside world in, and Harry Potter has learned the hard way that the outside world isn't warm. It's hungry. It's political. It's full of predators that don't care how famous you are. The night the other schools arrive, the Great Hall turns into theatre. Durmstrang comes first. Heavy boots, rigid posture, eyes like cold iron. They don't walk in like students. They walk in like a unit, like they're already trained to fight wars most Hogwarts kids have only read about. Then Beauxbatons glides in, elegant, controlled, beautiful as a blade with a jeweled hilt. Applause erupts. Harry doesn't clap. He watches, because you don't clap for weapons. You study them. Dumbledore announces the Triwizard Tournament like it's a celebration, but Harry hears the truth behind the words. This isn't a celebration. It's a demonstration, a signal, a message to the wizarding world that Hogwarts is still the beating heart of magical Britain, still the center of influence, still the place where alliances are forged. And Harry understands something that most students don't. This tournament isn't about school pride. It's about power, which means it will attract the kind of attention that gets people killed. The goblet of fire burns blue. Names are thrown in. Students whisper and giggle and daydream about glory. Harry doesn't put his name in, not because he's afraid, because he doesn't volunteer to be used. He's learned that lesson too many times. He sits at the Slytherin table with the calm of a boy who already knows where the knives are hidden. Draco Malfoy spends the evening pretending he doesn't care, but his eyes keep flicking toward the goblet. His pride aches for the kind of victory that would make his father proud. Harry clocks it and stores it away, because Draco's pride is still Draco's weakness. And Harry collects weaknesses the way other boys collect chocolate frog cards. The champions are chosen. The goblet spits flame. Names echo. A Hogwarts champion, a Durmstrang champion, a Beauxbatons champion. The hall holds its breath, and then the goblet spits again. A fourth name, Harry Potter. For 1 second, time doesn't move. Then the room erupts, not into applause, into outrage, into fear, into suspicion, sharp enough to cut. Students with their heads toward Harry. Teachers stand too quickly. Dumbledore's eyes tighten. Snape's gaze locks onto Harry like a blade being drawn. And Harry doesn't look shocked, because shock is a gift you give the people who set the trap. Harry rises, slowly, deliberately. He doesn't stumble, doesn't protest, doesn't ask, "Why me?" He simply walks forward as the whispers follow him like a swarm, because in that moment, Harry understands the real truth of the goblet. Someone has forced him onto the board, which means someone wants to control him. And Harry Potter has built his entire life around one sacred rule: no one controls me. When he reaches the antechamber, he doesn't waste time arguing. The adults do enough of that for him. Karkaroff sneers. Madame Maxime bristles. Bagman babbles. Crouch looks like a man watching a plan unfold. Dumbledore asks calmly whether Harry put his name in. Harry says no, and the room reacts like it always reacts to truth, by panicking, because truth ruins comfortable illusions. But the loudest voice isn't Dumbledore's, it's Snape's. Not loud, actually. Quiet, which is worse. Someone wanted you in the tournament, Snape says, eyes narrowed. Someone wanted you vulnerable. Harry meets his gaze. And someone wanted me dead. Snape doesn't deny it, because Snape doesn't lie when it matters. He simply steps closer and says the words that turn the tournament from school sport into battlefield doctrine. Then you will stop behaving like a student. Harry's eyes darken slightly. Snape continues, you will behave like a combatant. That night, Harry doesn't go back to the common room to complain. He goes to the dungeons. The corridors are quiet. The torches flicker. The lake above shifts like a living shadow. Snape's office smells of bitter herbs and old books. The door shuts behind Harry with a sound like a vault ceiling. Harry doesn't sit until Snape tells him to. And Snape doesn't offer comfort. He offers reality. This tournament was designed to kill, Snape says flatly. Not necessarily you, but it kills regardless. That is its nature. Harry's jaw flexes. Then teach me how to survive. Snape studies him for a long moment. Then he moves to a cabinet, opens it, and pulls out a stack of parchment. Spellwork, dueling sequences, counter curse trees, defensive theory written in Snape's sharp hand. Not the sanitized curriculum Hogwarts gives children, but the real geometry of violence. Snape drops it onto the desk. Read. Harry does. That night, and the night after, and the night after that, while other students gossip about dragons and merpeople, Harry Potter trains like he's preparing to walk into war, because he is. The first task approaches, and Hogwarts turns it into spectacle again. Stands are built. Students chatter. The air buzzes with excitement. Harry watches the crowd the way a soldier watches civilians gather near a battlefield. They think they're safe because there's a fence. They think danger is something that happens over there, in the arena, on command. But danger doesn't respect fences. Danger respects competence. He sees the dragons before the task begins. Not because Hagrid invites him like in the original story, because Harry is not a boy waiting for adults to help him. He follows patterns. He listens at doors. He reads expressions. He sees the way staff members move differently, more tense, more controlled. And when he confirms it's dragons, he doesn't panic. He goes to Snape. Snape's response is immediate. No, play fair. No, use your broom. Snape simply asks one question. Do you want to impress them, Snape says? Or do you want to live? Harry's answer is instant. I want to win. Snape nods once. Then he teaches Harry something the other champions aren't learning. Not how to evade a dragon. How to cripple. 1. No flashy wand work. No theatrical spells. Dark, efficient magic that targets senses and mobility. Spells that don't look heroic. Spells that look like control. The first task begins. The crowd roars. Harry steps into the arena and feels the heat of dragon breath wash across the air, like a warning. The horntail is massive. Scales like black armor, wings that snap the air like thunder, eyes burning with that reptilian indifference that says you are either threat or meal. Harry doesn't run. He doesn't fly. He raises his wand and speaks a spell that Snape drilled into him for hours. Not an unforgivable, but something adjacent to that philosophy. A curse that lances across the dragon's eyes like a flash of shattered glass. The horntail screams, jerking its head, blinking violently, because Harry didn't challenge it. He disabled its ability to target. He moves immediately, fast, precise, closing distance, while the dragon's movements become confused. The crowd's roar changes. It becomes uncertain, because this isn't what they expected. This isn't a boy dancing around danger. This is a boy dismantling it. Harry grabs the egg and leaves without celebration, without a wave, without giving them the satisfaction of a show. He steps out alive, and the tournament begins to understand what kind of champion Hogwarts has produced. The second task comes with water and breathlessness and the illusion of rescue. Hostages, loved ones. A moral trap disguised as competition. In the original timeline, Harry's heart drives him. In this one, Harry's mind does. He knows the rules of leverage. He knows hostages are not about love. They're about control. The lake is cold, dark, and full of things that were never meant to be seen under sunlight. When Harry dives, gillyweed burning through his lungs, he doesn't search in a panic. He searches like a hunter. He finds the hostages, bodies drifting, chained, unreal. And what's waiting there for him isn't just the test, it's the question. Who does the goblet think Harry loves? Who does the tournament believe is his weakness? In the original, it's Ron. In this timeline, the goblet makes a different calculation. Because Harry has never shown attachment to Ron, never shown warmth toward Hermione, never shown softness toward anyone. So the lake offers him something else. It offers him a symbol, a person tied to an idea, a person tied to power. Draco Malfoy, bound and floating, pale and unconscious. A hostage, not because Harry loves him, but because the world assumes alliances mean vulnerability. Harry hovers there for a moment, water pressing in, watching Draco's face. He doesn't feel affection. He feels ownership. Draco is his asset, and assets don't get taken. So Harry cuts Draco free, not gently, efficiently. He pulls him upward, like a soldier hauling a wounded comrade out of a kill zone. He doesn't save Draco to be noble. He saves Draco to make a point. No one touches what belongs to him. By the time the third task arrives, Harry is no longer a schoolboy in a tournament. He's a weapon someone mistakenly thought they could aim. The maze is raised, walls towering, paths shifting. The air tastes wrong. Even the audience's excitement is strained now because everyone feels it. The tournament is no longer a game. It's become something else. Harry enters the maze alone, wand raised, senses razor sharp. He doesn't call out. He doesn't wander. He moves like he's clearing corridors in hostile territory. Traps spring. Creatures lunge. Spells snap through darkness. But Harry doesn't get surprised. He expects violence. He expects betrayal. And because he expects it, he's prepared for it. Then he sees Cedric. Cedric Diggory, Hufflepuff's champion, golden boy of Hogwarts, decent to the core. Cedric is the kind of person this timeline doesn't reward. He's fair. He's kind. He believes in rules. He runs into Harry near the center of the maze, panting, wand raised, eyes wary but not hateful. In the original timeline, they cooperate like friends. In this one, something colder passes between them. Cedric doesn't understand what Harry has become. Harry does. And he recognizes Cedric as what he truly is, a good person, which means Cedric is in danger because good people are always the first to die when war arrives. They die because they hesitate, because they assume rules will protect them, because they can't imagine someone would kill without reason. Harry looks at Cedric, and, for the smallest moment, he considers walking away, leaving Cedric to his decency, to his fate. But Harry is not merciful like that anymore. Instead, he says, "Stay close." Cedric nods. They move together toward the cup, and when the Triwizard Cup appears, gleaming, waiting, innocent-looking, Harry's instincts scream. It's too clean, too convenient, too perfect. A prize sitting there like the world wants to reward them. Harry has learned never to trust rewards. Rewards are bait. He doesn't stop Cedric from touching it. Not out of malice, out of inevitability. Because Cedric reaches for it like a hero, and Harry reaches for it like a strategist. Their fingers touch the metal at the same time, and the world tears open. The portkey yanks them through space. Stomach-lurching, bone-wrenching transit. And then graveyard, cold air, dead silence, a sky like bruised stone. Harry lands hard, mud splattering his robes. Cedric stumbles beside him, disoriented, confused, and Harry's mind snaps into perfect clarity. This is not a tournament. This is an execution site. A figure steps from the shadows. Peter Pettigrew, alive, breathing, smirking with rat-like nerves. Harry's entire body tightens. The urge to kill him hits so sharply it almost blinds him. This is the man he hesitated to execute. This is the escape that Snape warned him about. This is the consequence of mercy. Harry raises his wand immediately. But Pettigrew doesn't flinch, because Pettigrew isn't the danger. Pettigrew is the servant. The danger is what he carries. A bundle, a shape, small, horrifying, something not fully human, not fully alive. Pettigrew places it into a cauldron already bubbling with sickly light. Harry steps forward, wand aimed. Cedric whispers, "Harry, what is that?" Harry doesn't answer, because answering wastes time. He tries to move, and then the air locks. An invisible pressure clamps down on him. Harry is frozen. His wand arm held, his body pinned like prey. A high, cold laugh slices through the night, and a voice speaks from the darkness like a knife drawn slow. Harry Potter. The shape rises from the cauldron, not yet fully formed, but becoming. Bone knitting, skin stretching, eyes burning into existence. Lord Voldemort returns. And in that moment, Harry learns the most brutal lesson of his life. All his training, all his hunger, all his no-mercy ideology means nothing if the enemy is simply stronger. Because Voldemort doesn't feel like a man. He feels like a force, like gravity with intent. Then Cedric dies. Not because he fails, not because he's weak, because he's decent, because he's in the wrong place at the wrong time, and the world doesn't reward decency in graveyards. Voldemort doesn't even look at him as a person. He looks at him like a loose end. Kill the spare. Green light. Cedric collapses. Instant. Final. And Harry watches it happen, with something inside him cracking. Not sadness, not tears, not grief the way a normal boy would feel grief. It's something colder. A revelation. This is what war does. War kills the good first. War spares the cruel. The torture begins. Voldemort doesn't rush. He enjoys it. He wants Harry to understand his place. He wants to take Harry's control and grind it into the dirt. Pain explodes through Harry's nerves like fire. He screams, not because he's dramatic, but because the human body will scream when you tear it apart. He tries to fight. He tries to think. But Voldemort is not interested in a fair duel. He is interested in domination. Harry is humiliated in front of Death Eaters. Masks emerge from darkness like a circle of predators. They watch. They relish. They want to see the boy who lived become meat. And in that moment, in the pain, in the mud, in the laughter, Harry's philosophy hits a wall, because he realizes the difference between a predator and a god. Predators can be fought. Gods must be outplayed. He survives by instinct, wand, connection, priori incantatum, echoes of parents, the barest thread of chance. He doesn't win. He escapes. He grabbed Cedric's body because even in this timeline, something in him refuses to leave a dead boy behind. And then The portkey rips him back. He crashes into Hogwarts like a corpse returned to life. The crowd screams. Teachers surge forward. Chaos floods the air. Cedric's body hits the ground with a sound that silences everything. Harry stands over it, breathing hard, face streaked with dirt and blood, eyes empty. In the original timeline, he breaks. In this one, he crystallizes. He doesn't weep. He doesn't collapse. He looks at the teachers, at Dumbledore, at the panicking students. And he understands something with brutal clarity. The world isn't divided into good and bad people. It's divided into butchers and meat. And Harry Potter will never be meat again. That night, while the castle trembles with fear, Harry doesn't seek comfort. He seeks instruction. He goes to the dungeons. Snape is already there, pacing, the dark mark burning on his arm like a brand. The sight of it makes Harry's skin go tight, because the dark mark isn't just a symbol. It's proof. Proof that Voldemort has returned. Proof that Snape's life has just become a razor's edge. Harry enters without knocking. Snape turns. Their eyes meet, and in Harry's gaze, Snape sees the graveyard. He sees Cedric's body. He sees the humiliation. Snape's jaw tightens. He says, very quietly, "Tell me." Harry tells him everything. Not emotionally. Not like a child. Like a soldier giving a report after a failed operation. Voldemort's strength, the Death Eaters, the torture, the killing, the way Cedric died because he was decent. When Harry finishes, the silence in the office is thick. Snape's face is unreadable. Then Harry slams his hand on Snape's desk. The sound echoes. Ink bottles rattle. It's not a tantrum. It's a declaration. "I want the magic he uses," Harry says. Snape's eyes narrow. "You want dark magic." "I want winning magic," Harry corrects. Snape exhales slowly, like a man hearing destiny lock into place. "You don't understand what you're asking." Harry leans forward slightly. "I do." He remembers the shrieking shack. He remembers Pettigrew escaping. He remembers Snape's whisper. "Mercy is a luxury." Harry's voice drops. "I'm done defending myself." Snape's gaze hardens. Harry continues. "I'm done being dragged into battles on someone else's terms." He lifts his sleeve slightly, showing the bruises left by ropes, the marks left by curses, the proof of humiliation. "I want to show them what no mercy looks like." Snape holds his gaze for a long moment. Then finally, Snape nods. Once, a decision made like a blade sliding into a sheath. "Then you will learn," Snape says softly. "But understand this, Potter." He steps closer, voice like poison and truth. "If you walk this road, you will not come back the same." Harry's answer is immediate. "I'm not coming back." And that is where year 4 ends. Not with healing. Not with comfort. Not with Hogwarts pretending everything will be fine if they just believe hard enough. It ends with a boy in the dungeons, staring at a man marked by darkness, and asking to become something the world can't break. Because Voldemort didn't just return in the graveyard. He exposed the lie Hogwarts has always told its children. That safety is normal. That adults will protect you. That goodness is enough. Harry Potter learns the truth. Goodness is not enough. Mercy is not enough. And year 5 is where Harry stops being a soldier and starts becoming a general. Year 5 doesn't begin with a feast. It begins with denial. The Ministry denies Voldemort's return, with the kind of desperation that only powerful people can afford. Because to admit the truth would mean admitting failure, and failure is a stain they'd rather burn the world to avoid. The Daily Prophet prints lies in bold ink. The halls of Hogwarts fill with arguments, fear, and that uniquely poisonous kind of confusion where people start fighting each other because the enemy is too terrifying to name. And Harry doesn't argue. He doesn't persuade. He watches, because he already understands the new battlefield. This year, the most dangerous weapon in the castle is not a curse. It's a narrative. When Dolores Umbridge arrives, she arrives like a parasite in pink velvet, a sweet voice, a false smile, a laugh like sugar over rot. She introduces herself to Hogwarts as a necessary corrective, a steadying hand, a protector of children. Harry sees what she really is within minutes. Not an auror, not a duelist, not a warrior, a bureaucrat. A political blade designed to cut the school away from Dumbledore and cut Harry away from the truth. She isn't here to fight Voldemort. She's here to control the idea of Voldemort. And control the idea of Voldemort means controlling the boy who survived him, Harry. Here's the critical difference in this timeline. In the original story, Umbridge tries to crush Harry, and Harry reacts. In this timeline, Harry doesn't react. He adapts, because a predator doesn't throw itself against a steel wall. A predator finds the seams, and Umbridge is all seams. She is made of rules, appearances, reputation, procedure, which means she can't be defeated by raw power. She must be defeated by asterisk, precision. Harry's first move is simple. He stops being loud. He stops being obviously defiant. He stops giving her the satisfaction of open rebellion. He becomes what she wants to see. A polite Slytherin boy. A controlled student. A respectful young man with good breeding who speaks carefully and never raises his voice. He gives her nothing she can punish. And while the rest of the school fumes, Harry studies her like a toxin. He watches how she smiles when she's lying. He watches how she pauses before saying, ministry, like the word itself gives her strength. He watches her eyes flick toward the staff table, toward Snape, toward McGonagall, cataloging threats. He watches what she fears, because fear is leverage. Then, defense against the dark arts happens, or rather, it stops happening. Umbridge stands at the front of the classroom with her perfect posture and her childish bows and her stupid little giggle, and she tells them they'll be learning theory. No practical magic, no dueling, no counter curses, just reading, just obedience, just weakness dressed up as safety. The Gryffindors erupt. Voices rise. Hermione starts forming plans before the lesson even ends. Her mind is already building a resistance, because Hermione's default response to injustice is to fight it head-on. Harry sits still, and when Umbridge asks him a question, sweetly, politely, like she's offering him a chance to behave, he answers with the same sweetness. Yes, Professor. Her eyes narrow, because she doesn't trust compliance. She understands control too well to believe it comes without cost. But she can't punish him. Not yet. So she smiles. And Harry smiles back. That night, Hermione tries to approach him, not as an enemy, not as a rival, as a strategist. We need to do something, she says in a low voice, cornering him near an archway in the corridor. She's making us defenseless. If Voldemort, if you know who, say his name, Harry replies calmly. Hermione flinches. Harry's gaze stays steady. Saying it doesn't summon him, Harry says. But refusing to say it trains you to fear. Fear is how they domesticate you. Hermione swallows, then forces it out. Voldemort. Harry nods once. Hermione continues, voice urgent. We need to practice, secretly. We need a group. In the original timeline, Harry is reluctant. Here, Harry is already building it. but not the way Hermione imagines. Hermione wants a club. Harry wants a asterisk unit, a regiment, a weapon, a structure that can function even when leadership is cut out. Because Harry has learned the only rule that matters in war. You plan for betrayal. You plan for loss. You plan for the moment the world collapses and only discipline remains. I already agree, Harry tells her. Hermione's eyes brighten. Then but you won't like how I do it. Her expression tightens. What do you mean? Harry leans slightly closer, lowering his voice. I'm not building a rebellion, he says. I'm building a guard. The first meeting doesn't happen in a cozy room full of warm friendship. It happens in cold stone. It happens in a hidden dungeon corridor that only Slytherins know, sealed by an old ward that responds to Parseltongue in a whisper. Hermione is the only non-Slytherin Harry allows into the first circle, and even that isn't mercy. It's math. Hermione Granger is a force multiplier. Logistics, memory, information control. You don't discard an asset like that. You use it. But Harry makes the rules clear the moment she steps into the torchlight. This isn't Dumbledore's army, Harry says. Someone laughs nervously. Harry doesn't. That was a name made for morale, Harry continues. Morale doesn't stop curses. Silence. He looks at the faces around him. Ambitious Slytherins, a handful of Ravenclaws who came for knowledge, a few Gryffindors drawn by fear and anger, and Hermione standing rigidly as if she's already preparing to argue. Harry raises his wand. We train to end fights, he says, not to win duels. Hermione's voice cuts in. We shouldn't be teaching anything that could what? Harry asks softly. Win? Her mouth tightens. Harry turns, sweeping his gaze across the room. If you want a club, he says, leave. No one moves. Good, Harry says. Then we start. He calls it Asterisk the Slytherin Guard. And the name is a statement, because it tells the truth the rest of Hogwarts is afraid to say. Hogwarts is not a school right now. It's a fortress, and fortresses either train defenders or become graves. Training begins brutally. Harry doesn't start with flashy spells. He starts with fundamentals that Hogwarts never teaches, because Hogwarts pretends its children will not need to kill to survive. Asterisk stance, breath, reaction time. He drills disarming, yes, but not as an ethical finish, as a doorway. He teaches what happens after the disarm, how to bind fast, how to break balance, how to end motion. He teaches spells that stun hard and spells that trip the nervous system into panic. He teaches the difference between winning a duel and neutralizing an enemy. And he teaches them the most important lesson Snape taught him. There is no such thing as a fair fight, only living and dying. Hermione hates parts of it. Harry can see it in her eyes. But she keeps coming, because Hermione is not naive. She is simply hopeful. And hope is something Harry used to envy. Now he treats it like a liability to manage. Umbridge notices the shift in the castle within weeks. It's subtle at first. Students stand straighter. They move in tighter groups. Detentions stop working as intimidation because students begin to treat pain as training. Even the air feels different, like Hogwarts itself is becoming less like a school and more like a war room. So Umbridge escalates. Decrees appear like parasites on the walls. Rules, restrictions, curfews. Then comes the inquisitorial squad, a little gang of sanctioned bullies. And of course, she chooses Slytherins, because she believes Slytherin ambition will always bend toward authority. She believes the dungeons are hers by nature, and that's her first fatal mistake. because she doesn't understand that Slytherin loyalty is not automatic. It is purchased, it is negotiated, it is earned. And Umbridge has nothing worth buying. She approaches Draco Malfoy like he's a weapon she can aim. Draco is flattered. Draco is proud. Draco wants to feel important. Harry lets him enjoy it. Harry lets Umbridge believe she has acquired a Malfoy, because Harry already owns something far more valuable than Draco's arrogance. He owns Draco's asterisk fear. Fear of disappointing Lucius. Fear of being seen as weak. Fear of being irrelevant. And Harry uses it the way Snape taught him to use everything. Quietly, patiently. He begins to feed Draco a narrative, piece by piece, like poison slipped into wine. Umbridge is not an ally to pure-blood tradition. She's a ministry leash. She's a bureaucrat who thinks ancient families should kneel. She's a disgrace, a stain, a threat. Draco swallows it because Draco wants to believe it. And then Draco does exactly what Harry intends. He writes to his father. Lucius Malfoy doesn't fear Hogwarts. He fears perception. He fears influence shifting away from old families and into ministry hands. And when Draco's letters arrive, carefully framed, carefully panicked, Lucius begins to apply pressure where pressure is truly deadly. Not in duels, in committees, in governor meetings, in donations, threats, quiet suggestions, and concerns for the school's reputation. Umbridge doesn't realize she's being boxed in until it's too late. She doesn't understand the kind of warfare that happens in drawing rooms. Harry does. Because Harry is learning something even darker than dark magic, that the pen can kill without leaving blood. Umbridge's next move is predictable. If she can't crush Harry's influence openly, she'll provoke him into a mistake. So she attacks what she believes is his weakness, his name, his reputation. She calls him a liar in front of classrooms. She gives him detentions designed to make him snap. And then she introduces the quill, the blood quill, the thing that carves words into flesh. In the original timeline, Harry endures it in silent rage. In this one, he endures it in silent calculation. Because pain is not the point. Information is. Harry lets the quill cut him. He lets the words carve into his hand. And the entire time, he watches Umbridge's face. He watches the tiny thrill she gets from control. He watches her enjoyment. He watches her need. And he realizes something valuable. Umbridge is not brave. She is addicted. Addicted to authority. Addicted to obedience. Addicted to being obeyed by people who secretly despise her. That addiction makes her sloppy. And sloppiness gets people killed. Harry leaves detention with blood on his skin and a new plan in his mind. Not revenge. Removal. The guard adapts. They stop meeting in obvious patterns. They use rotating locations, rotating signals, rotating leadership roles. Harry designs them like a covert network because he knows Umbridge will eventually crack down hard enough that discovery becomes inevitable. He teaches them occlumency basics, mental discipline, control of expression, refusal to betray emotion. He teaches them how to lie without looking like they're lying, how to appear harmless while becoming dangerous. Hermione calls it terrifying. Harry calls it survival, and something changes in Hermione during those weeks. She begins to understand that Harry isn't simply being cruel. He is responding to a world that punished him every time he was soft, and that realization frightens her more than Umbridge ever could. Then comes the public turning point. Umbridge tries to humiliate Harry in front of the school. She calls him out during a lesson, sweetly, smugly, asking him to repeat his claims about Voldemort's return. The classroom holds its breath. In the original timeline, Harry explodes. In this one, Harry smiles politely. "Yes, Professor," he says calmly. "I'll repeat it." Umbridge's eyes brighten. She expects rage. She expects a scene. Harry continues. Voice steady. "Voldemort has returned," he says, "and the Ministry is lying because it's afraid." Umbridge's smile tightens. Harry tilts his head slightly. "But I understand why," he adds. That stops her, because nobody expects Harry Potter to sound sympathetic. Harry's gaze sweeps the class slowly, as if he's including everyone. "Fear is natural," Harry says. "The Ministry is not strong enough to admit weakness. So it pretends the threat doesn't exist. That's what weak institutions do." Umbridge's cheeks flush. Harry looks back at her, voice still polite. "But Hogwarts is not an institution," he says. "It's a fortress." Silence. Harry's hand lifts, not threatening, not aggressive, almost conversational. "So the question isn't whether Voldemort is back," Harry says. "The question is, when he comes here, will we be trained to fight him?" Umbridge's voice goes sharp. "Detention." Harry nods once. "Of course," he says softly. "Because you can't answer the question." The classroom explodes in whispers. Not because Harry shouted, because Harry didn't. He didn't lose control. He displayed it. And that is the moment Umbridge realizes what she's dealing with. Not a rebellious teenager, a tactician. The crackdown comes after. More decrees, more surveillance, more squads patrolling corridors. But the board pressure intensifies too. Letters, complaints, meetings. Lucius Malfoy moves like a shark beneath polite society's surface. And other families follow, not because they love Harry, but because they hate being leashed by the Ministry. Umbridge begins to lose ground, not dramatically, systematically. She's overruled, questioned, undermined. Small humiliations stack until her authority begins to wobble. And then Harry makes his cleanest move yet. He doesn't attack Umbridge with spells. He attacks her with asterisk documentation. Hermione helps, because Hermione can't resist the purity of proof. Records of illegal detentions, records of blood quills, records of educational malpractice, witness statements gathered with careful wording. Harry doesn't leak it to the Prophet. The Prophet is compromised. He sends it through channels Umbridge can't control. Old families. Private influence webs. Ministry rivals who hate fudge and smell opportunity. Within weeks, Umbridge is no longer a rising star. She's a liability, a scandal waiting to happen. And the Ministry, cowardly as ever, does what it always does when one of its own becomes inconvenient. It abandons her. Umbridge is not dragged off by centaurs in chaotic justice. Not in this timeline. That would be too messy, too mythic. Harry doesn't want myth. He wants certainty. So, Umbridge falls the way bureaucrats fall, quietly. Paperwork first, authority revoked, power stripped. An internal review, a necessary change, a pink parasite removed from the body before it infects anything else. The day she leaves, Hogwarts doesn't cheer. It exhales. And Harry Potter watches her exit from a shadowed corridor, expression unreadable. Hermione stands beside him, arms crossed, unsettled. "You did that," she says quietly. Harry doesn't deny it. He doesn't gloat. He simply says something that chills her. "She did it to herself," Harry replies. "I just stopped her from hiding it." But victory tastes strange, because even as Umbridge leaves, the larger war doesn't pause. Dumbledore is still being hunted politically. The Ministry is still lying. Voldemort is still gathering power. And Harry, now trained, now armed, now leading a unit, begins to understand a darker truth. Removing Umbridge was easy. She was a symptom. The disease is the world itself. And the world is about to force Harry into a choice he can't outmaneuver with paperwork. Near the end of the year, Harry has a conversation with Snape in the dungeons that feels different than the others. Snape looks more tired, more stretched, like his life is being pulled in two directions by forces that don't care if he survives. "You've learned politics," Snape says quietly. Harry tilts his head. It's just another battlefield. Snape's mouth tightens. "No," Snape says. "Politics is worse. You can't curse a rumor." Harry watches him. "You're worried," Harry says. Snape's eyes flick up. Sharp. Warning. "Worry is irrelevant," Snape replies. Harry doesn't blink. "What's coming?" he asks. Snape holds his gaze for a long moment. Then, finally, he says the line that ends year 5 with a shadow instead of a triumph. "Dumbledore is running out of time," Snape says. Harry's expression doesn't change, but something inside him shifts. An alignment, a preparation. "Then we move faster," Harry says. Snape's voice drops. "You don't understand," he says. Time isn't the only thing he's running out of. Harry steps closer. "Tell me." Snape doesn't. Not yet, because some truths aren't weapons until the right moment. But Harry sees it. The crack in Snape's armor, the hesitation. And Harry, who has built himself into discipline and strategy and ruthless control, realizes he is approaching the edge of something even he may not be able to command. Year 6 isn't going to be about Umbridge. It's going to be about Asterix truth, the kind of truth that changes who you are forever. And here's the question for you, because this is where the timeline becomes really dangerous. Harry just defeated Umbridge without casting a single public spell. He used influence, manipulation, and the old family's power structures to do it. So what does that make him? Is he a protector using the tools available, or is he becoming the very thing he claims to fight? Someone who believes control is the only path to safety? Let me know in the comments, because in Asterix Section 5, Harry stops dismantling parasites and starts hunting Horcruxes. Year 6 begins with an absence. Not an empty chair at the feast, not a missing student. An absence in the air, the subtle, chilling feeling that the castle has stopped pretending. Hogwarts doesn't feel like a school anymore. It feels like a headquarters that keeps receiving bad reports. And Harry Potter walks its corridors like a man who already knows the war has reached the stage where belief is irrelevant. Only preparation matters. Only timing. Only ruthlessness. The Ministry is still stumbling around in denial and damage control, but outside the castle, reality has stopped asking permission. Disappearing families, attacks in alleyways, the dark mark burning in the sky like a signature, and in the center of it all is a truth that Harry cannot escape, no matter how tightly he tries to control the board. Voldemort is not a man you can defeat by surviving him. You defeat him by understanding what he is. And what he is a system, a structure, a mind that planned immortality like an engineer plans a bridge, which means the answer is not in brute force. It's in the architecture. So Harry does what Slytherins do best. He studies the foundation. Here's where this timeline diverges sharply from everything you remember. In the original story, Dumbledore feeds Harry information in carefully measured drops. In this one, Harry doesn't wait, because waiting is how you die. While the rest of Hogwarts gossips about Quidditch and crushes and who's dating who, Harry Potter becomes obsessed with one question. Asterix, how did Tom Riddle become Voldemort? Not emotionally, not morally, mechanically. Step by step, what did he read? Who did he manipulate? Which artifacts did he target? What did he believe his greatest vulnerabilities were? Because nobody builds an empire without reinforcing the weak points. Harry spends nights in the library. Not the public shelves, but the restricted sections, the places where the books feel like they don't want to be touched. He pressures older Slytherins into giving him access to family grimoires. He trades favors for knowledge. He uses Draco the way you use a key to open doors that would never open for you otherwise. And Draco, desperate to stay relevant, desperate to remain useful, keeps unlocking them, one by one, until Harry is sitting in rooms full of old magic and old blood and old fear, reading things that Hogwarts would never teach. And then he finds it. Not the word immediately, not the neat explanation, but the idea, a fragment, a thread, a passage in a cracked, leather-bound tome, describing soul magic, not as metaphor, but as craft, a reference to splitting, to anchoring, to dividing the self so completely that death cannot claim all of you. Harry reads it once, twice, then again, and the world shifts in his mind like a lock turning, because suddenly everything makes sense. The diary, the way it wasn't just enchanted, but alive, the way it bled memory like blood, the way it tried to consume Ginny Weasley as fuel. That wasn't a clever trick. That was a container. And Voldemort would never risk everything on one container. Not Voldemort. Not a mind that cold. Not a mind that strategic. If he built immortality, he built it redundantly, with backups, with layers, with contingencies. Harry closes the book slowly and realizes, with absolute certainty, Voldemort didn't just survive death. He planned it. He takes the theory to Snape, not Dumbledore. Not because Harry hates Dumbledore. Harry simply doesn't trust him. Dumbledore believes in mercy. Dumbledore believes in the right thing. Harry believes in outcomes. And Snape? Snape believes in war. So Harry steps into Snape's office one night, without ceremony, and drops the question like a knife onto the desk. Horcruxes, Harry says. Snape stills, just for a fraction of a second. But Harry sees it, because Harry has learned to read micro-expressions the way other boys read Quidditch scores. Snape's fingers tighten, his eyes narrow, his mouth becomes a line. "Where did you hear that word?" Snape asks. Harry doesn't answer immediately, because answers reveal sources. Sources reveal vulnerabilities. "I figured it out," Harry replies. Snape's gaze hardens. "You figured out one of the darkest branches of magic ever recorded," Snape says, voice low. "At 16. Harry's voice stays calm. "Yes." Snape stares at him, and in that stare is something dangerous. Not anger, not disbelief. Recognition, because Snape sees what this means. It means Harry is no longer following the war. He's starting to lead it. Snape leans back slightly. "Continue," he says. Harry outlines everything. The diary as proof. Voldemort's psychology. The pattern of artifacts. The logic of redundancy. As Harry speaks, Snape's eyes go distant, as if he's replaying private memories. Then, finally, Snape says something that confirms Harry's theory and opens a door into something worse. "You are correct," Snape says quietly. Harry doesn't react. He waits. Snape's voice drops, and the headmaster already knows. That sentence lands like a slow, sinking weight. Because Harry doesn't like being behind anyone. He doesn't like being managed. And suddenly he realizes he's been in a game where the adults have been moving pieces around him again. Harry's gaze sharpens. How long? He asks. Snape doesn't answer the question directly. He has been searching, Snape says. He has been preparing. Harry's eyes narrow. For what? Snape's jaw tightens. For a moment, it looks like he won't answer. Then Harry does something new, something dangerous. He pushes, not with a wand, with his mind. Harry has been training, in secret. Snape taught him occlumency to defend himself. But Harry took it further, because defense is never enough for him. Harry learned how to touch the edges of someone else's thoughts, not with finesse, not with artistry, but with pressure, legilimency. And now he presses, just slightly, not an attack. A probe, a test. Snape's eyes flash, sharp, furious, instantly defensive. But Harry sees it, a crack, an image. A ring, Blackstone, a cursed gleam. And Snape's voice, tight and controlled, confirms it. He is dying, Snape says. Harry goes still. The room feels colder. What? Harry asks softly. Snape's gaze is lethal. He put on a ring, Snape says. A ring that was a Horcrux. A ring that was cursed. Harry's jaw clenches. How long? Snape exhales through his nose. A year, he says. Perhaps less. Harry's hands curl slightly. In another timeline, this might have broken him. In this one, it sharpens him, because it means the window is closing. And closing windows force decisions. Harry's voice is steady. Then he should have told me. Snape's mouth twists. He did not want you burdened, Snape says with quiet contempt. Harry's eyes harden. I'm not burdened by truth, Harry says. I'm burdened by being lied to. And right there, you can feel the fracture line appear. Because Harry Potter and Albus Dumbledore are not aligned in this timeline. They are on the same side of the war, but they are not marching under the same philosophy. Dumbledore wants Harry to remain good. Snape wants Harry to remain alive. And Harry wants to win at any cost. Then the new defense teacher arrives, Horace Slughorn, a man who smiles like a collector examining gems. He doesn't teach. He curates. He builds circles of influence. He gathers talent. He collects the right children, the way Lucius collects rare artifacts, not for love, but for future leverage. Slughorn hosts dinners, exclusive gatherings, slug club meetings dripping with sugar and hidden claws. In the original timeline, Harry is invited because of fame. In this one, Harry is invited because Slughorn senses something more valuable than fame. Asterisk, gravity. Harry doesn't walk into rooms like a child. He walks in like an inevitability. Slughorn thinks he can mold him. Slughorn thinks he can own a piece of him for his collection. Harry lets Slughorn believe that, because Slughorn has something Harry wants. A memory. A missing puzzle piece from Tom Riddle's transformation. And Harry doesn't beg for it like a Gryffindor. He plans extraction like a Slytherin. You see, Hermione would try persuasion. Ron would try luck. Harry tries leverage. He spends weeks letting Slughorn feel important. He asks questions that flatter Slughorn's ego. He lets Slughorn tell stories about famous students. He plays the perfect, charming, ambitious Slytherin. Polite, impressed, hungry for legacy. Slughorn eats it up because Slughorn is not a villain. He is worse. He's a man who wants to feel harmless while benefiting from powerful people. He wants the thrill of proximity without the risk of commitment. Harry watches him and sees a truth that makes him almost calm. Slughorn is a coward, and cowards are easy. You don't fight cowards, you corner them. Harry begins to drop subtle references, not threats, not yet. References, little reminders that Voldemort is back, that the world is changing, that people who once made a small mistake are about to have their mistakes dragged into the light. Slughorn laughs nervously, changes the subject, but Harry watches the fear bloom. Then, one night after a Slug Club dinner, Harry walks with Slughorn through a corridor where the torches are low and the castle feels like it's listening. Harry pauses. He speaks softly. "I think Tom Riddle asked you about Horcruxes," Harry says. Slughorn stops walking. His face drains. The silence stretches. Harry doesn't push immediately. He lets the panic rise naturally, because panic weakens defenses. Slughorn's voice trembles. He was just a boy, Slughorn says. Curious, bright, a boy who became Voldemort, Harry says, still soft. And you helped him. Slughorn's eyes snap to him. I didn't help him. Harry tilts his head slightly. Then show me, Harry says. Show me what he asked. Show me what you said. Slughorn swallows. No, he whispers. Harry nods once, as if accepting it. Then he delivers the blade. Not loudly, not angrily, just precisely. If you don't, Harry says, then when this war is over, your silence will look exactly like cooperation. Slughorn's breathing becomes shallow. Harry continues, voice almost gentle. You want to survive, Harry says. So do I. I'm offering you the easiest way to survive. Slughorn's eyes glisten. Harry doesn't care. He has moved past caring about comfort. He cares about data. And finally, Slughorn breaks. The memory is given, not willingly, but surrendered. And when Harry watches it, Tom Riddle, charming and cold even as a teenager, asking about the soul like he's asking about a recipe, Harry feels something settle into place. It's confirmed. Not one Horcrux, not two, multiple. A split soul, anchored to multiple objects. A man who built immortality like a fortress. Harry leaves the memory, with his mind running like a war engine. He makes a list. He starts building targets. And for the first time, Harry realizes the shape of the war. It isn't about defeating Voldemort in a duel. It's about dismantling him systematically until he is mortal, until he can bleed, until he can die. But Year 6 isn't only about Horcruxes. It's also about a boy in Slytherin house who begins to unravel. Draco Malfoy. Harry notices it early. The way Draco flinches when owls arrive. The way his posture tightens when older students mention family. The way his eyes look bruised from sleepless nights. Draco is being ordered to do something. Something he can't refuse. Something he isn't built for. And Harry already suspects the truth before he confirms it, because the Dark Lord doesn't punish failure with detention. He punishes failure with funerals. When Voldemort assigns tasks, he assigns them as tests, not to see if you can succeed, to see what you'll sacrifice to try. Harry follows Draco one night, not like a friend, not like a concerned classmate, like a commander monitoring a compromised asset. He watches Draco vanish into the room of requirement. He hears the crackle of stressed magic. He sees flashes of cursed objects, broken wards, and Draco's hands shaking as he tries to build something that won't hold. A doorway, a breach, a way to bring Death Eaters into Hogwarts. Harry doesn't confront him immediately, because confronting Draco would push him into panic. And panic makes people unpredictable. Instead, Harry tells Snape. Snape already knows. Of course he does. Snape always knows. But this time, Snape doesn't respond with contempt. He responds with heaviness, as if each word costs him something. There is more, Snape says quietly. Harry's eyes narrow. Snape hesitates. Then, finally, Narcissa Malfoy came to me, Snape says. Harry's jaw tightens. She begged. Harry doesn't react emotionally. He reacts strategically. She's afraid Draco will fail, Harry says. Snape's expression flickers. Yes, he says, and she is correct. Harry's voice stays level. What did you do? Snape holds Harry's gaze. I swore an unbreakable vow. The air in the room changes. Because an unbreakable vow is not a promise, it's a noose. Harry's eyes sharpen. To do what? Snape's voice is nearly a whisper. To help Draco, Snape says. To protect him. Harry processes it instantly. If he fails, Harry says slowly, you must finish it. Snape's eyes burn. Yes. Harry leans back slightly. And for a moment, there is silence, where two predators consider the same board from different angles. Harry speaks first. You didn't do it for Draco, Harry says. Snape doesn't deny it. Harry continues, voice precise. You did it to preserve your cover, Harry says, and because Dumbledore told you to. Snape's jaw tightens. Harry watches him and then pushes again. Not with legilimency this time, but with pure pressure. And Dumbledore is dying, Harry says. So he's accelerating endgame. Snape's eyes flicker. Harry nods once. I see, Harry says quietly. The plan is already moving. Snape's voice is sharp. You do not know the plan. Harry's gaze locks onto Snape like a vice. Then tell me, Harry says. Snape's face becomes stone, and for a moment, Harry thinks Snape won't. But then Snape speaks, because Snape is not a man who enjoys truth. He is a man who uses it when it becomes necessary. And now, it has become necessary. This ends one way, Snape says, voice low. Harry waits. Draco will be ordered to kill Dumbledore, Snape says. Harry's eyes narrow. Snape continues. He will fail, Snape says. He will hesitate. He will panic. He will crack. Harry doesn't argue. He knows Draco. Then Snape says the line that changes the entire season of Harry's life, and I will be required to do it instead. Silence. Harry's mind turns. Not grief, not shock. Calculation. If you kill Dumbledore, Harry says slowly, you become Voldemort's most trusted. Snape's eyes are cold. Yes, and Dumbledore wants that, Harry says. Snape's mouth tightens. Yes. Harry looks at him. And what do you want? Snape's gaze doesn't waver. To finish the war, Snape says. Harry nods once. Then he says the next question, like a blade sliding between ribs. What haven't you told me? Snape's jaw tightens. His eyes narrow. Then he exhales. And he speaks the truth Dumbledore never wanted Harry to hear until it was too late. There is a reason, Snape says, voice controlled, that the Dark Lord cannot kill you cleanly. Harry's blood feels colder. Snape continues. There is a reason your scar burns, Snape says. A reason the connection exists. Harry doesn't speak. Snape's voice drops. Because you are not only his enemy, Snape says. You are his anchor. Harry's eyes sharpen to a point. Snape delivers it. You are a Horcrux, Snape says. The room goes silent. Not dramatic silence, the kind of silence where your body stops believing it is safe. Harry doesn't flinch. He doesn't cry. He doesn't explode. He simply absorbs it. Because this Harry has been preparing for terrible truths his entire life. The cupboard prepared him. The chamber prepared him. The graveyard prepared him. The shrieking shack prepared him. And now he understands the full architecture of the war. Voldemort made himself immortal by accident through Harry. And to end Voldemort completely, Harry must die. Harry holds Snape's gaze, and the questions Snape expects, the emotional collapse, the panic, the desperate denial, never comes. Instead, Harry nods once, as if confirming a tactical report. So that's the exchange, Harry says quietly. Snape's eyes narrow. You accept this, Snape says, almost disbelieving. Harry's voice is calm. I accept reality, Harry replies. Reality doesn't negotiate. Snape watches him for a long time. Then he speaks, and for the first time his voice carries something dangerously close to emotion. You are still a boy, Snape says. Harry's gaze hardens. And Voldemort is still a man, Harry replies, which means he can be killed. From that night on, Harry changes again, not outwardly. He still walks the halls with control, still speaks politely, still moves like a blade. But inside, a countdown begins. Because Harry now knows there is a final move on the board, and the final move requires sacrifice. Not in a poetic, heroic sense, in a literal, strategic sense. He is the final Horcrux, which means his life is no longer just his life. It is a weapon that must be used at the right moment. And Harry Potter, the boy who begged for power, now has the ultimate form of it. The power to end a Dark Lord forever by choosing the exact moment he stops breathing. Then comes the night on the astronomy tower, and it plays out like a tragedy written in advance. The castle is tense. Storm clouds press against the sky. Whispers ripple like warning signals. Harry is under the invisibility cloak because he planned it that way. He doesn't stumble into this moment. He positions himself in it. He watches Draco corner Dumbledore. He watches Draco's hands shake. He watches Draco try to look like someone who belongs in darkness and fail. Dumbledore stands weak, pale, already dying from the ring's curse. But his eyes are still sharp, still calm, still frustratingly kind. Draco raises his wand. His lips tremble. He can't do it. He wants to, because the fear behind him demands it. But he can't, because Draco Malfoy is not built to murder a defenseless man. He is built to threaten, to posture, to inherit, not to kill. Dumbledore speaks softly to Draco, and for a moment, there is something almost unbearable about it, because Dumbledore, even in defeat, still offers mercy, still offers compassion, still believes in saving souls. Harry watches from under the cloak and feels a cold anger. Not because Dumbledore is weak, because Dumbledore is gambling with lives by refusing to be ruthless. Because mercy in war creates openings. Openings become graves. Then Death Eaters arrive. The tower fills with chaos. Draco disarms Dumbledore. The wand flies. And then Dumbledore does something that only Dumbledore would do. He looks directly toward the corner where Harry is hidden. He can't see him, not literally, but it feels like he can. And he lifts a trembling hand toward his robes. A subtle motion, a final instruction. Harry's eyes narrow. He memorizes the motion. Then Snape arrives. He moves like finality. He steps into the scene like a man stepping into his own execution. Dumbledore speaks one last time, not begging, not pleading for life, pleading for the plan. Severus, Snape's face, is a mask of stone. Harry watches him raise his wand. And in that moment, Harry understands something horrifying. Snape isn't killing Dumbledore because he wants to. Snape is killing Dumbledore because the war requires it. Because Dumbledore chose this end. Because Snape is the man Dumbledore trusts to do what mercy cannot. Avada Kedavra. Green light. Dumbledore falls. The castle swallows the sound. The Death Eaters flee, laughter and chaos trailing behind them. And Harry Potter does not chase. Not yet. Because Harry Potter is not governed by impulse. He is governed by sequence. He emerges from under the cloak and walks to Dumbledore's body. He kneels, not in grief, in recognition. He remembers the signal. He reaches into Dumbledore's robes, and he finds the object Dumbledore wanted him to find. A small, golden snitch. The first snitch Harry ever caught. But in this timeline, it means something darker, because it's not a trophy. It's a trigger, a message, a key. Harry turns it in his hand slowly, the gold cold against his skin. And in that silence, he understands. Dumbledore is dead. Snape is now fully embedded as Voldemort's right hand. Draco Malfoy disarmed Dumbledore, and Harry Potter is the final Horcrux. The board is set. The endgame is no longer theoretical. It's imminent. Harry stands. He looks out over Hogwarts from the astronomy tower. Wind cutting across his face, the castle below shifting into emergency. Teachers shouting, students running, panic waking up like a beast. And Harry feels something strange. Not sorrow, not fear. Resolve. Because now, the war is no longer about whether he can survive. It's about whether he can execute the plan cleanly. Whether he can destroy every Horcrux. Whether he can master the Elder One's allegiance before Voldemort does. Whether he can choose the correct moment to die. And whether, after dying, he can return. Because if he returns, then the world will learn what kind of ruler survives a war built on no mercy. Harry closes his fist around the snitch, and as he turns back toward the stairs, you can almost feel the next year looming in the air like a blade. Year 7 will not be a camping trip. It will not be wandering. It will not be hope. It will be an operation, a hunt, a conquest. And the final question isn't whether Harry Potter can kill Voldemort. The question is whether Harry Potter can kill Voldemort, without becoming him. And here's the comment question for this section, because it matters more than ever now. Harry just learned he's a Horcrux, that his death is required to end the war. But instead of collapsing, he accepts it like strategy. Is that strength? Or is that the final proof that the cupboard under the stairs didn't just make him ambitious? It made him willing to sacrifice himself, and everyone else, to win? Let me know below. Because in section 6, we go to the hunt. We go to the Elder Wand. We go back to the Chamber of Secrets. And we go to the forest, where no mercy stops being philosophy and becomes the law. Year 7 begins without Hogwarts. No feast, no sorting, no comforting lie that a school year can continue as if the world outside the castle walls isn't burning. In this timeline, Harry Potter doesn't leave Hogwarts as a fugitive child with a backpack and hope. He leaves as a commander with a plan. And the plan has only one acceptable outcome. Voldemort dies permanently. Not defeated, not driven off, not temporarily stopped. Dead, irreversible, final. Because Harry has learned the hard way what happens when you let enemies escape. They return. They multiply. They infect everything you love. And in this timeline, Harry Potter does not allow infections. He cuts them out. Harry doesn't run. He moves. There is a difference. Running is what prey does. Moving is what predators do. He has resources most people don't even realize exist. He has Snape embedded at the heart of Voldemort's inner circle, feeding him information like blood through a vein. He has the Slytherin guards scattered across Britain in small cells, students turned operatives, carrying messages through wards and owls and old family channels. He has access to old homes and hidden places, because pure-blood families, even when they pretend neutrality, love power enough to rent out their silence to whoever looks like the future. And Harry now looks like the future. So the hunt begins, not with wandering, with targets, with timelines, with the cold logic of dismantling a soul engine piece by piece. Hash, hash, hash. The first Horcrux is the locket. In the original story, it's a mess. Delays, arguments, exhaustion, the slow decay of morale. In this one, Harry doesn't allow decay. He doesn't camp. He doesn't hope they find clues. He identifies the chain of possession. He follows influence. He knows where the locket ended up because he understands a universal law. Stolen artifacts move through greedy hands. Greedy hands leave trails. The ministry is compromised now, fully infiltrated, fully rotted. That corruption is convenient if you know how to exploit it. Harry doesn't infiltrate the ministry like a hero. He infiltrates it like a shadow. Polyjuice, access codes, falsified schedules prepared by Hermione's obsessive precision, and Slytherin guard operatives placed where they need to be. They move through the ministry like a blade sliding between ribs. Quiet, fast, no witnesses, no dramatic duels. Harry reaches Umbridge's office and sees the locket around her neck. It looks ridiculous on her, like a rat wearing a crown. Umbridge smiles at him, thinking he's someone else, thinking her authority still means something. Harry doesn't speak. He steps forward and stuns her so hard she collapses mid-syllable. Then he takes the locket. He doesn't destroy it yet. Not here. Not in the field. Because field destruction invites chaos. Chaos invites mistakes. Harry doesn't make mistakes anymore. He pockets it like it's evidence and leaves. By the time the ministry realizes something happened, Harry is gone. And the locket is his. Hash, hash, hash. The second Horcrux is the cup. Gringotts, a fortress of goblins and curses, and blood contracts. In the original story, it's wild and desperate. In this one, it's surgical. Harry knows the cup is inside Lestrange vaults because Snape confirms it. But Snape also delivers the first piece of grim news that actually shakes the board. Voldemort has taken the Elder Wand. He has broken into Dumbledore's tomb like a grave robber. And now he believes he holds invincibility. Snape's message is short. Asterisk, he has the wand. It may be over. Harry reads that line in a silent room lit by one candle and smiles. Not because it's funny, because Voldemort is making the oldest mistake in the world. He is confusing possession with mastery. Harry writes back one sentence, and Snape, reading it later by firelight in a hidden corner, feels the chill run through him. Asterisk, the wand chooses the wizard. He has the stick. I will take the allegiance. Gringotts requires a different kind of leverage. Harry doesn't charm goblins into liking him. He doesn't plead. He doesn't bargain in good faith. He makes a deal the way Slytherins make deals, by offering something that hurts to refuse. He offers a future. He offers a new balance of power after Voldemort's fall. He offers goblins something wizard governments have never wanted to offer: acknowledgement. Not as kindness, as negotiation. The goblins don't trust him, but they trust opportunity. So they allow the breach, not officially, not openly, but in the small gaps where contracts can be interpreted. Harry and his unit enter the vaults. The heat is oppressive. The air tastes like metal, curses layered on curses, like traps inside traps. But Harry doesn't panic. He disarms enchantments with practiced coldness. He watches for patterns. And he understands something goblin-made structures rely on. They punish greed. So he doesn't move greedily. He moves patiently. He finds the cup. The moment his fingers close around it, Harry feels it, like a subtle vibration, like something inside the metal recognizes him, a soul fragment, a parasite. He wraps it quickly, wards it, and withdraws. No dragon escape. No chaos. No spectacle. Just extraction. By the time Gringotts realizes what's been taken, Harry's already gone into shadow again. The cup is his. Hash, hash, hash. The third Horcrux is the diadem. Ravenclaw's lost crown. A thing that whispers intelligence and vanity. A myth Hogwarts students tell like a bedtime story. But Harry doesn't treat it as myth. He treats it like inventory. He returns to Hogwarts in secret, under cover of darkness, not as a student sneaking back, but as a king moving through his own castle unseen. The room of requirement shifts to meet him, because the castle itself recognizes need. Harry walks through the room's endless junk piles, centuries of hidden things, and finds the diadem not by luck, but by understanding the psychology of hiding. Riddle hid treasures where treasures were already buried, where no one would look, because it looked like chaos. Harry's hand closes around it. The diadem's whisper brushes his mind like silk. Promises. Insight. Power. Harry's expression doesn't change. He wards it. He leaves. 3 Horcruxes. Secured. Still intact. Still waiting for the right moment, because Harry's plan is not destroy them as he finds them. Harry's plan is to destroy them all at once, in one decisive action, in a place he controls. Because every time you destroy a Horcrux, Voldemort feels it. And if Voldemort feels it too early, he adapts. He runs. He hides. He becomes unpredictable. Harry wants him predictable. Harry wants him angry. Harry wants him charging straight into a trap. Now comes the pivot. Snape's next message arrives like a knife. Voldemort has realized the Horcruxes are being hunted. Not all at once, he's not that clear yet. But the paranoia begins. And paranoia makes Voldemort dangerous. He tightens control. He punishes incompetence. He begins moving pieces. He begins ordering raids. And then Snape delivers the most critical information of the war. Voldemort believes the Elder Wand is not obeying him fully. He thinks it's because Snape killed Dumbledore. So Voldemort concludes that to master the wand, he must kill Snape. Snape's message is short. For the first time in years, it carries something like resignation. Asterisk. He is watching me. If he moves, there will be no warning. Harry reads it and feels something unfamiliar. Not grief, not panic, a slow, tight pressure. Because Snape is not just a spy. Snape is the spine of Harry's operation. If Snape is cut out too early, information dries up, and the war becomes chaos again. Harry doesn't allow chaos, so Harry makes the next move immediately. And it is the most Slytherin move of his life. He decides to steal allegiance. The Elder Wand's allegiance is not a rumor. It's a law. And laws can be exploited. Harry knows Draco Malfoy disarmed Dumbledore, which means, in the deepest logic of wand law, the Elder Wand's loyalty belongs to Draco, not to Snape. not to Voldemort, to Draco. Which means Voldemort is holding the most powerful wand in existence. And still losing the invisible war inside the wood, Harry doesn't need to beat Voldemort for the wand. He needs to beat Draco. So he goes to Malfoy Manor. Not with a rescue party. Not with hope. With precision. The manor is crawling with Death Eaters now. Thick with dark wards. But Harry knows something about wards. They are built around assumptions. And one assumption is almost universal. Nobody expects the threat to come from inside. Harry enters using old family pathways Slytherins have used for centuries. Hidden tunnels, sealed doors, whispered passwords. He finds Draco alone in a corridor, pale, haunted, older than his years. Draco's eyes widen, but before he can speak, Harry raises his wand. Not Avada Kedavra, not torture. A single, confusing spell. One Snape taught him to disorient without leaving obvious trace. Draco staggers. Harry disarms him. Draco's wand snaps into Harry's hand, and Harry leans in close. Draco's breath trembles. Harry's voice is quiet. "You won't even remember this clearly," Harry says. "But you should understand one thing." Draco swallows. "I spared you because you're useful," Harry says, "not because you deserve it." Then Harry turns and leaves. No duels, no chaos, no dramatic exit, just theft, allegiance stolen. The Elder Wand's loyalty now belongs to Harry Potter, and Voldemort will never realize it until it's too late. Now, the endgame begins. Harry has the locket, the cup, the diadem. He has already destroyed the diary. He knows Nagini is still alive, still a moving Horcrux. And he knows the final Horcrux is himself. So he chooses the battlefield. Not a random forest. Not a wandering campsite. Not wherever we end up. He chooses the place he truly rules. The place where he first became more than a survivor. The place where the castle itself recognized his dominance. The Chamber of Secrets. Harry returns to Hogwarts for the final time, the way conquerors return to capitals. Not loudly, not with banners, with inevitability. The school is under Snape's control now, at least officially. But it is a brittle control, a cover stretched thin over a fortress full of fear. Students are punished, teachers are watched, walls feel like they have ears. And Harry moves through it all like a shadow that belongs there. The Slytherin Guard converges. Small cells, entering through secret routes, old tunnels, hidden doors. They don't meet in the Great Hall. They meet in darkness. Harry stands before them, in the old corridor sealed by serpent wards, torchlight flickering green across his face. They look at him like soldiers look at a commander who has stopped being human in the way commanders often must. Harry doesn't give a speech about love. He gives orders. "We end it tonight," Harry says. No cheers, just nods. Because everyone in that room understands what tonight means. It means blood. It means death. It means a world that will not be the same when the sun rises. Harry descends into the chamber alone. Not because he doesn't have allies, because this part is sacred. This part is his. Parseltongue opens stone again. The serpent mouth yawns. The dark breathes. Harry walks down the long, damp tunnel with the Horcruxes in his bag. The chamber opens before him like a cathedral built for domination. The statues loom. The air tastes old. Harry reaches the basilisk skeleton and kneels. He pulls free fangs, sharp, lethal, soaked in the only venom known to destroy soul-anchored magic. He lays out the Horcruxes in a line. The locket, the cup, the diadem. He stares at them for a moment, not with hate, with calm, like a surgeon preparing instruments. Then he begins. He drives a fang into the locket. It screams, magic screaming, a sound that isn't sound. Black smoke curls. The locket shudders like a dying animal. Then it falls silent. One fragment gone. He pierces the cup. It fights harder, shaking, whispering promises of legacy and power. Harry doesn't listen. He twists the fang. The cup cracks. Ink-dark soul residue leaks out like rot. Gone. He lifts the diadem. For a second, it whispers into his mind again. Intelligence, superiority, certainty. Harry's eyes harden. "You're not smarter than me," he murmurs. He drives the fang through it. The diadem collapses. Silence expands. 3 Horcruxes destroyed in minutes. In one place, in the heart of his kingdom. And Voldemort feels it. Across the link, across the fractured soul connection, Voldemort screams. Not aloud. Inside Harry's skull, a sound like a god being wounded. Harry staggers slightly, but he smiles, because now Voldemort is predictable. Now Voldemort is enraged. Now Voldemort is coming straight at Hogwarts with everything he has. Exactly as Harry planned. The assault begins. The sky outside Hogwarts erupts with green and red light. Death Eaters swarm like carrion birds. Creatures of darkness flood the grounds. Spells slam into stone. Screams echo. The Battle of Hogwarts begins not as a noble defense, but as a siege. And Harry doesn't hide. He emerges from the tunnels and steps into the chaos like a commander stepping into the center of his own plan. The Slytherin Guard moves in disciplined lines, not panicked clusters. They hold choke points. They trap corridors. They cut off escape routes. They use spells that end heights quickly. No dramatic duels. No flourishing. Just neutralization. Students who once would have run now stand because Harry trained them to stand. Teachers who once would have hesitated now act because there is no time left for mercy debates. The castle shakes, but it holds for a while. Then the Dementors come. Not a handful, a swarm, a black tide rolling over the defenders, sucking warmth out of the air, pulling despair like hooks into every mind. Students begin to falter. Hands shake. Breathing turns shallow. Panic spreads. And on the high walls, Severus Snape watches it unfold. He is surrounded by Death Eaters. He is pretending to command the defense, but his role is a razor now, because Voldemort is moving closer. And Snape knows, with that cold certainty that defines him, that his time is ending. Then, across the courtyard, a flash of silver explodes into the dark. A Patronus, bright enough to cut through despair. The defenders look up, and Snap freezes, because the Patronus is not a stag. It is not a wolf. It is not a phoenix. It is a doe, a silver doe, Lily Evans, guarding the school, protecting the living. Snape's breath catches, not dramatically, just a small human failure in his control. And for the first time in his life, Severus Snape smiles. It is barely there, a ghost of an expression, but it's real, because in that silver shape, he sees the impossible, Lily's symbol, carried by her son, not as weakness, as strength. Harry Potter has severed the stag. He has chosen the doe, not for softness, for devotion, for will, for the kind of love that becomes a weapon. And Snape understands, too late, that his student has become something even he did not predict. Not merely ruthless, not merely powerful, something absolute. Then, Voldemort summons Harry. Not with an owl, not with a message, with a command that floods Harry's skull through the link like a hook through flesh. Come. The defenders look to Harry. Some beg, some plead. Hermione's eyes search his face, as if she's trying to find the boy who might still care. But Harry has already made this decision the moment Snape told him what he was. Harry turns away from the battle. He walks toward the forest, not with tears, with calm, because this is the final move, the sacrifice that closes the loop, the death that kills the Horcrux inside him. And after that, Voldemort becomes mortal, and mortal things can be butchered. Harry steps into the trees. The world grows quiet. The battle noise fades behind him like it belongs to another life. He walks alone to the clearing, and there he finds Voldemort waiting. Surrounded, Death Eaters in a circle, wands raised, faces hungry. They think this is a coronation. They think they are about to watch the boy who lived finally die. Voldemort's red eyes gleam. He raises the Elder Wand, and then something changes. Voldemort doesn't aim at Harry. He turns. He aims at Snape. Snape is brought forward by Death Eaters, dragged into the clearing. Harry's muscles lock, not because he's scared, because for the first time in years, a variable has shifted. Voldemort's voice is soft, cold. You have served me, Voldemort says to Snape, but the wand does not answer me. Snape's face is still. He knows. He knows why. Voldemort continues. To master it, I must kill its true master. Harry tries to move. His body doesn't respond. Voldemort has frozen him with magic designed not for dueling, but for domination. Harry is forced to watch. Snape looks toward Harry, not pleading, not begging. Just one final transmission. One final command. And Snape screams it, not as weakness, but as war doctrine carved into air. Remember. Harry's eyes burn. Snape's voice roars. No mercy. Then Snape does the final thing Severus Snape was born to do. He doesn't die quietly. He doesn't beg. He doesn't allow Voldemort the satisfaction of clean execution. With his dying breath, Snape casts fiend fire. Cursed flame erupts like a living hell, devouring everything in its path. Death Eaters scream and stumble back. The fire roars, and it finds Nagini, the serpent Horcrux, the last external anchor of Voldemort's soul. Nagini shrieks as the cursed flame consumes her. Voldemort's eyes widen in sudden, furious shock, because he feels it. The final Horcrux, outside Harry, is gone. Snape collapses into the fire, burning, ending, completing his mission, and Voldemort, raging, raises the Elder Wand again. Now he aims at Harry. Avada Kedavra. Green light. Harry falls. The world goes grey. Not death, exactly. Not sleep. A place between. And in that place, Harry stands alone, feeling the strange absence where part of him used to be. The parasite is gone. The soul fragment is dead. Harry is still Harry, but lighter in a way that feels eerie. He understands the mechanics now. Voldemort's soul is no longer reinforced. No anchors, no backups, no safety nets. Voldemort is mortal. Harry opens his eyes. He rises. Back in the clearing, Voldemort's laughter shakes the night. He believes he has won. He believes the wand has obeyed him. Death Eaters begin to kneel, already imagining a world where they rule openly. But then Harry Potter stands up, alive, walking forward, silent. Voldemort's laughter falters. The clearing goes still, because no one understands what they're seeing. Harry steps into the circle. Voldemort raises the Elder Wand again. It doesn't feel right in his grip. It never has. Harry's voice is calm. You don't have it, Harry says. Voldemort's eyes blaze. I have the Elder Wand, Voldemort hisses. Harry's gaze is almost pitying. You have the wand, Harry says. You don't have the allegiance. Voldemort's lips curl. Lies. Harry turns his head slightly, just enough for Voldemort to notice the wand in Harry's hand. Draco's wand. A simple wand. An ordinary wand. Yet Harry holds it like a crown. Harry speaks again. Draco disarmed Dumbledore, Harry says. Not Snape. Voldemort's eyes narrow. Harry continues, voice steady. And I disarmed Draco. For the first time in Voldemort's face, you see something almost like uncertainty. Then Voldemort snarls and attacks. Spells lash through the air like lightning. Harry moves. Not frantic, not desperate. Controlled. The Elder Wand's power fractures in Voldemort's hand, resisting him like a living refusal. Harry counters with brutal precision. No speeches, no mercy. He uses what Snape gave him. The spell Snape created. The curse that cuts. Sectum Sempra. It hits Voldemort like invisible blades. Not a clean death. Not a heroic instant. A slow, visceral unraveling. Voldemort's robes tear as blood blooms dark across pale skin. His breathing turns ragged. His eyes widen in fury and disbelief. He tries to cast again. The wand betrays him. Again and again. Harry advances like an executioner. Voldemort falls to his knees. Not because Harry is stronger, because Voldemort is finally mortal. Because mortality is weakness, and Harry has spent his whole life hunting weakness. Voldemort tries one last curse. The Elder Wand refuses. Harry's voice is quiet, final. You should have killed me when you had the chance, Harry says. And then Harry ends it, not with love, not with forgiveness, with superior violence. Voldemort collapses into the mud, bleeding out like any other man. No explosion, no grand magic, just death. Ugly, human, final. The Death Eaters look up. They expected a new Dark Lord. They expected Harry to take Voldemort's throne. They expected mercy, bargains, survival. Harry looks at them and sees the graveyard, Cedric's body. He sees Snape burning. He sees his mother. He sees the cupboard. He sees everything that taught him the same lesson over and over. Mercy is a luxury, and luxuries get people killed. Harry raises the Elder Wand. The forest lights green. One by one, Death Eaters drop. No speeches, no trials, no second chances, no mercy. And when it's done, the clearing is silent, except for the crackle of dying fiend fire and the distant echo of battle ending as word spreads that Voldemort is dead. Harry walks back to Hogwarts alone. The survivors stare at him as he emerges from the trees. Some look relieved, some look horrified. Some look at him like he's not a boy anymore, like he's a new law written in human form. Hermione steps forward, eyes wide. Harry, she whispers. Harry looks at her. There is something in his gaze that hurts. Not cruelty, distance, the cost. He speaks softly. It's over, he says. And it is, but not the way they dreamed. Not the way Dumbledore wanted. The wizarding world is safe, yes. But it is safe under a ruler who believes safety is earned through fear. Harry Potter stands in the ruins of Hogwarts with the Elder Wand in his hand, the master of death, not because he conquered death with love, but because he accepted death as a tool. And the final image of this timeline isn't celebration, it's conquest. A boy who went into Hogwarts begging for power, leaving it as something the world cannot afford to disobey. And that's the reality of a Slytherin Harry Potter. He didn't defeat Voldemort by being the better man. He defeated him by becoming the superior predator. So here's the final question for you. Was Harry right? Is a world ruled by fear still a better world than a world ruled by Voldemort? Or did Harry's victory simply trade one darkness for another? Let me know in the comments. And if you want another dark alternate timeline, hit like, subscribe, and click the video on screen now, because next, we're exploring what happens if Hermione Granger was sorted into Slytherin and became the mind behind Harry's empire. The end.